Welcome back everyone for another video where today we will deep dive into the team statistics for the season thus far.
What we will take care of today is, first of all, would be the XG. Now, this statistic, how we have approached this is that we have taken home XG separately and away XG separately, and this chart is going to tell us which teams are better, which teams have better XG performance at home vis-a-vis away. So if you look at it, this is for the season thus far. Arsenal is right at the top. These are the top five clubs in terms of the highest XG at home vis-a-vis away. So technically, these teams perform amazingly well at home as compared to their away performance. So Arsenal 6.76, right at the top, with Crystal Palace at second, followed by Burnley, Brentford, and Norwich. These are the top five in terms of the teams which have done extremely well till now at home when it comes to scoring goals or when it comes to attacking. In the same breath, we're going to look at the bottom five whose XG is better away as compared to home. Liverpool tops the chart here. So they have performed extremely well away. I think they have scored more goals away this season as compared to scoring home. Southampton, on the other hand, they are on the second in the list, but having said that, they're not as extravagant as Liverpool. They have hardly scored at home this season so far, and they tend to be more expressive when they are traveling on the road. Watford, the same story with them. Different clubs can have different reasons for such a stat. A few clubs can feel, a few teams can feel under pressure when they play against the home in front of the home crowd as compared to playing on the road. So Watford is third, followed by Aston Villa. Not too much of a difference between Watford and Aston Villa. They have also scored similar amount of goals, which I feel not wrong, they're 16 or 17. And then in terms of finishing this bottom five would be West Ham United, which they have negative of 1.32. So not too much of a difference beyond these five teams. Not too much of a difference between them in terms of how attacking they are at home vis-a-vis away. Now we will look at expected goal conceded as compared to what we just saw in expected goals. So these are basically the teams with better expected goals conceded performances away from home. So basically, they perform well away defensively. We look at the top five here. Watford, as they were part of the XG stat as well, so they are in top five and they top the charts here, being extremely defensive or a well-oiled defensive team away from home. Followed by Newcastle. Newcastle, anyways, has leagued the most goals, highest goals this season so far, but they tend to concede fewer goals away from home as compared to at home. West Ham, 1.64. They have also been stronger in performance defensively away from home, followed by Brighton and Wolves. So these are the top five teams in terms of expected goals conceded, how well they performed away from home. In the same breath, we're going to look at bottom five. Arsenal is right at the top in this chart, which means that Arsenal defensively at home is much better than what they are when they are traveling away. Having said that, this performance of Arsenal, they have played out of the 6 away games, they have played City away, they have played Liverpool away last game week, they have also played a couple of other big teams. So this stat of them, they are topping the chart because of that as well. Norwich, again, they have performed defensively better away from home and not at home at all. Burnley is there in the chart as well. This is not a typical Burnley season thus far, where it's 12 games into the season. They usually kind of find their feet in terms of defensive stats. Yes, they are slow starters. They've always been slow starters. They take 4, 5, 6 game weeks to settle down, but then they kind of get on with their defensive what they are proficient at. They have been proficient at defensively. But this season we're seeing a different Burnley. They have been attacking quite a bit in the last 3-4 game weeks, and defensively they have not been what a typical Burnley usually is at this point of the season. They're followed by Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace has been very, very resolute away from home. They have their defensive stats overall, as we will look in a few minutes. Their defensive stats overall for the season has been very impressive, but away from home they have been more impressive than at home. And Southampton away it's been the same story for them as well. So what we're now going to do is we're going to look at the team stats again, in a holistic view. What we've done is we have divided to 12 game weeks that we have seen so far in Premier League into 3 different game week brackets. So game week 1 to 4, game week 5 to 8, and game week 9 to 12. Now what we have done, as we will see in a minute, what we have done here is we will, in isolation, we will take these 3 buckets and we're going to rank each team's performance on their XG and XGC, and we compare it with their FDR, and we have given them a combined ranking. So we'll start with game week 1 to 4. This is with the start of the season, and this is what we see. So this is primarily, I'll repeat again. So these are the, on the left hand side under the team column, you will see 5 teams. These are the top 5 teams in terms of their stats when we combined expected goal and expected goals conceded vis-a-vis their FDR. So right at the top is Crystal Palace. For the first 4 game weeks, their FDR was 19, and they've performed extremely well. They are number 1 in terms of the overperformance they have done vis-a-vis their FDR of 19. Key stats for them: they only lost 1 game in the first 4 game weeks. Wolves is right there second behind Crystal Palace. They were 11 on FDR for the first 4 game weeks, and they, as compared to their FDR performance, as compared to their FDR, their performances have made them reach rank 2. The key stat for them is they have had an XG of 6.4 in the first 4 games. Manchester City, not surprising to see them there. The FDR for the first 4 game weeks was 9, and they have performed extremely well. And because of the overall performance, they are ranked 3. Key stat for them was that they had 3 clean sheets in the first 4 game weeks. Chelsea at 4th. The FDR was 17. They had a tough start. 4 game weeks with an FDR of 17. They have performed, as we all know, they have performed, started performing well right from the beginning. And with that kind of an FDR, the numbers have been quite impressive if you combine XG plus XGC. Key stat for them has been that they had 3 wins out of the first 4 game weeks. We will finish this list off with the Leeds United. They also had an extremely tough start. They were 18 on FDR, and they've had a tough start. They've had a few injuries as well, but they kind of overperformed in the first 4 game weeks when I think Bamford was still playing. They were still scoring goals. They were still very attacking, and the key stat for them was 4.8 XG. And because of their overperformance as compared to the FDR, they were ranked 5, and they just about entered the top 5 ranking for the first 4 game weeks. Now, if we look at the bottom 5 as compared to the FDR, Watford, the lowest. They are topping this chart. Unfortunately, they're in the bottom 5. Their FDR was 7. They had a decent start in terms of fixtures when the fixtures were released, but they could not really materialize on it. They could not take advantage of it. And their stats, their XG plus XGC stats were quite low, and that's why they are at number 1, unfortunately, on this list. Key stat for them is they had 3 losses in the first 4 game weeks. Brighton, they had the best fixtures to start with. They had everybody in the beginning of the season were talking about going big on Brighton assets in terms of getting at least 2 assets. Having said that, they haven't been able to perform as what their FDR suggested. And key stat for them is that they only scored 5 goals in the first 4 game weeks, considering their FDR was 1. Arsenal, they were 6th on the FDR in the beginning of the season, and like I said before, they had a couple of they conceded 9 goals in the first 4 game weeks, but the opening game of the season against Brentford, which was away for Arsenal, was a surprising one for everyone. Nobody saw the score coming, but Brentford won 2-0. And from there on, they faced Chelsea at home, and then they faced City away. So these were the 9 goals that they conceded, and that's the reason they are in this unfortunate list of bottom 5. Leicester, FDR of 12, not too easy start for them, but still, considering Leicester's attacking assets that they have, how they're attacking, they have always been. The XG was only 3.7, with XGC way higher than this, and hence they fall into this bottom 5 ranking. Ending with Tottenham, their FDR was 10, right in the middle. Not too easy, not too tough start to their campaign. But Harry Kane missed the first. I think he missed the first game week, where his whole rumor was about moving on to Manchester City. Nuno had taken over at Tottenham Hotspur at that time. I remember them winning 1-0 in the first 3 games, and where everybody kind of noticed that they were quite lucky to win, especially the second and the third game. The first game was a win against City in London. 6.3 of XTC, and they only scored kind of 3 goals. We now take a look at game week 5 to 8. This is the second bucket for us in terms of picking up a phase of 4 game weeks. Here we look at the top 5 teams in terms of overperforming as compared to their FDR. Brentford right up there with their 20. They were 20 on FDR, and in this phase of from game week 5 to 8, they faced Liverpool, they faced Chelsea, and they faced West Ham as well. They fared extremely well and surprised most of us how attacking they were in their approach. Brentford had an XG of 8.2, which was extremely high, and I think it was the second highest after Liverpool for this phase of from game week 5 to game week 8. They also could defend extremely well with a low XG of 5.59. They're right at the top for this table, followed by Manchester City. Manchester City was 17 on FDR, and as was the case in the first phase of 4 game weeks. They have had a tough start on paper. However, they perform extremely well considering such a high FDR for them, and the key stat for them was they had 3 clean sheets with the XG of 5.5 and an extremely low, I think the lowest till date for the season for any 4 game week stretch of 2.6. So they had kind of started getting into form in this particular phase. Leicester right at 3rd, FTR of 8. Not difficult, but still not the easiest. The FTR was 8. This was the time when they had started hitting their attacking lanes and attacking heights in terms of what they have been doing in the last couple of seasons under Brendan Rodgers. XG of 9.1, which was extremely high for them, was in this 4 game weeks. They also their XGC was also quite impressive for these 4 game weeks, which was around 4.21. So overperformance, as relatively to other teams, makes them sit at number 3. Liverpool at number 4 with an FTR of 9. As has been seen throughout the season, they have been relentless in their approach when it comes to attacking, and they have been attacking, and they've been supremely superlative form. Scored 13 goals in these 4 game weeks, and with an extremely low XGC of 4.74 as well. So they sit at 4th, and finishing this table off in top 5 is Tottenham. Their FTR was 16. However, having said that, being on 16 and finishing 5th on this table doesn't really give a true picture, because Tottenham hadn't scored at all in the first 4 game weeks. I think they scored 3, and in this 4 game weeks as well, their xGC was 4.84, where they did score 6 goals, but their xGC was high as well on 5.56 as well. So they kind of just enter this top 5 for this game week phase. We go to the bottom 5 teams. These are the teams which had the easiest of fixtures. If you could see, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 7 on FDR, all the ratings are right here. Norwich was third. They had the toughest of fixtures in the previous game week bucket from 1 to 4 game weeks, but this one they were right. They had the third easiest, but however they only could score 1 goal, and they even after the end of 8th game week they had 0 points on board. Their xGC was extremely low of 3.25 and a high xGC of 6.49. Leeds United, after the first 4 game weeks, Bamford got injured, and they just could not. They haven't still been able to recover from that loss. And they have, Rafinha has been injured for a couple of game week 2, and they have lost a couple of defenders as well who are now back. So Leeds United by FDR was a 2. Again, they could not really. They haven't been the Leeds what they were last year. A low xG of 4.08. They only scored 3 goals, 2 from open play. The xGC has been high throughout the season, and this game week phase was no different. The xGC was 5.57, and they only had 1 clean sheet out of these 4 game weeks. Watford, as they have been known, as the whipping boys throughout the season, along with Norwich and Burnley, they were 7th on FDR. Their xG was not too high. It was only 3.76, while they scored 4 goals in these 4 games, but they conceded a lot, and the xGC was as high as 7.03, which was easily the highest xGC for game week 5 to game week 8. 8.9 xGC. Sorry. Wolves, they had the best fixtures from game week 5 to game week 8, and they themselves did not do justice to that, and they find themselves in the wrong part of this table. They are in the bottom 5 when it comes to xG and xGC stat for game week 5 to 8. They only scored 6 goals, which is not too bad, but their xG was 4.59. I think Huang was the one who had a couple of good finishes, where the xG was quite low. So they did overperform when it comes to attacking. The xGC for this 4 game weeks was 5.32, and hence they find themselves in the bottom 5, considering that FDR was 1. Newcastle, again part of the whipping boys club. The FDR was 4, but they could not do justice yet again. They scored 5 goals with 4.8 xG. However, they conceded 7 goals, which makes them part of this bottom 5. Now we'll move on to game week 9 to 12, which is the last. This is the third and the final phase for the season thus far. And again, we will look at the top 5 teams for this. Liverpool sits right up there. Their FDR was the highest what they have seen till now. They were at 18, and they were relentless yet again. Scoring has not been an issue for them at all. And in this 4 game weeks, they also found themselves to be with a very low xGC as well. They scored 13 goals, where Salah yet again has been the chief protagonist, if I may say so, for them, and Mane as well chipping in along with Jota. West Ham sits at number 2. Again, their FDR was quite similar to Liverpool. They were 17th on FDR, and they could manage 3 wins out of that. And with this kind of an FDR, the fixtures were tough, they scored 8 goals. And even in this kind of an FDR, and they conceded only 4. So that's the reason they sit at number 2 in this table. Manchester City, Chelsea are the next two. Not surprised to see them. They had already started, getting together as gelling as a team in the first 8 game weeks, and in this phase of 4 game weeks, they just cemented their place in top 2. Manchester City ninth on FDR. They scored 9 goals, and they conceded only 3. So hence they are sitting 3rd on this table. Chelsea again, they were 8th on FDR, similar to Manchester City, and they have conceded only 1 goal in these 4 game weeks put together, and they sit on number 4. Brighton 19th, the second toughest fixtures from game week 9 to 12, did well. I think this was the phase when they defeated City at Etihad 2-0, and the key stat from these 4 game weeks was that they had 2 clean sheets, and they had an XG of 4.46 with an XGC of 5.26, so which is quite impressive considering the FDR was number 19. We get on to now the bottom 5 teams for the last 4 game weeks. Not surprising to see similar names. Norwich, Newcastle still there. Norwich was 6th at FDR, and so we have seen with Norwich, in the last 4 game weeks as well, they were 3 on FDR, but still they didn't perform. They hardly scored any goals, and in the last 4 game weeks from 9 to 12 as well, they were 6th on FDR, which is relatively easy as compared to the other 13 teams. They conceded 11 goals, and they only scored 5. Though they're starting scoring goals now, but and they've got 2 wins under the belt. Under the new manager, they've got 1, and they did get 1 win under the old manager as well. Newcastle also are now under the new manager, Eddie Howe. They were 10th on the FDR, 0 wins till now. 0 wins not just for this 4 game weeks, but for the season for them, and they're sitting right at the bottom of the Premier League table in terms of standings. Everton, they started well, but the last 4 game weeks have been absolutely atrocious for them. They were 11th on FDR, not too bad on fixtures, but with only scoring 3 goals and conceding 10, which was extremely high. And I remember Watford scoring 5 past them, at Everton, and then in the last game week 12, City, as expected, scoring 3 past them. So Everton is in the right position right now. They have had injuries. Richarlison did not do the team any favor by booking himself the 5th yellow card. So he was out for the last game week as well. Wolves, they were 8th on FDR for gaming 9 to 12, and they just could manage to score 4 goals and conceded 4 as well. So they were 8th on FDR, scored 4, conceded 4, but relatively speaking, they find themselves in the bottom 5 teams for this game week phase of 9 to 12. And finishing it off with Brentford, and again, so how we were surprised by Brentford's performance in game week 5 to game week 8, how attacking they were, how well concise they were in defense as well, which obviously forced a lot of managers in the FPL community to go and buy Mbuamo, go and buy Tony. But in these 4 game weeks, it's just the opposite, which has happened for them and for the managers who have been owning Brentford assets. There were 2 on FDR, 0 clean sheets for them in these 4 fixtures, considering the FDR they had. They scored 6 goals, but they conceded 10 goals, which was totally not expected. And even out of these 6 goals, Tony has just got 1. I don't think Mbuam has got any goal, and most of the goals were scored by the defenders. So this was something which was really not, most of us did not see it coming. Now we get on to the season stats, and this is the season till date. So we combine all these 12 game weeks together, and then we have put the stats for the season in a similar vein. We will go with the top 5 team in terms of the season FDR and how they've done on the XG and the XGC parameters. Manchester City, no surprise there. They're second on the table in terms of Premier League points table. They were 16th on FDR on first 12 game weeks, and they have had lowest XGC for the season. So this is extremely commendable for Manchester City. They have, I think, conceded 6 goals, if I'm not wrong, and they've been scoring at will as well. Crystal Palace is the surprising entrance here. They, to be honest, they have taken everybody by surprise in this season. They had the toughest fixtures till date in the first 12 game weeks. They were at 20, and they find themselves to be they are 9th, if I'm not wrong, on the points table. But they have been extremely impressive against the big teams, against the teams, with all due respect to other teams of their caliber, mid-table teams, and they have been impressive against the the bottom half of the table, bottom half of the table as well. Teams sitting in the bottom half. They've had 7 draws, which is the highest for this season. Their XG for the season is 15.85, and they have scored 18 goals. So their striking assets have been overperforming. Benteke has been doing well. Gallagher for them has been sensational. He has been having a sensational season. He's been on loan from Chelsea. And as far as the defense is concerned, their XGC, they are sitting at 3rd in the table with 12.26, just marginally behind Chelsea. And they have been doing phenomenally well. Liverpool at 3rd. The season FDR was at 11. They have been the team with the highest number of goals scored at 35. Which out of 35, 26 goals have been scored from open play. They have been absolutely phenomenal. 29.83 XG, scoring 35 goals. So that speaks volumes of the kind of finishing they have been doing. And with an XGC of 12.63 as well, which is number 4 in the ranking. They are the second team, along with Crystal Palace, who haven't lost at home yet. Tottenham at 4th. The season FTR has been 19. They have had a really, really tough start to the season. They've had a change in the manager. I'm not surprised. Their season FTR has been 19, and I'm sure now going forward they would be looking at easier fixtures. They have had 0 draws at home, which is a stat in itself for them. They have scored 11 goals. After contest come, and in the last game against Leeds United, they did score 2 goals. Their XGC, however, has been 17.47. But however, having said that, relatively speaking, considering the season FTR, they find themselves at number 4. Chelsea is finishing the table at 5. The season FTR has been relatively easier as compared to the Cities and the Liverpools of the world. They're number 5 on this table. They're number 1 on the Premier League points table. Have been extremely impressed with them. Scored 30 goals, second highest goals in the season so far after Liverpool. With an XGC of 12.22, which is the second best itself. And it's a known fact that the kind of number of goal scorers that they have had is just amazing. Liverpool's highest goal scorer is Salah at 11, whereas Chelsea's highest scorer is at 4, and there are many at 4, including Reece James. So that speaks volumes of Thomas Tuchel, how well he's kind of organized his team and how focused his wingbacks are. And they've had 8 clean sheets, which is the highest right now, followed by Liverpool, who are at 7 clean sheets. We look at now the bottom 5 for the season. Watford, Newcastle, Leeds, Brighton, and Everton. These are the 5 teams. They have had good fixtures till now in the season. Watford 7. Unfortunately, they haven't had a clean sheet, though they have been scoring goals. They have scored 16 goals till now, but without a clean sheet. They have conceded 20 goals as well. Newcastle, again, as I said earlier, they're all part of the Whipping Boys Club. Newcastle also has scored a few goals, just like Watford. They're at 15 goals, but they have conceded 27. So, people facing them, teams facing them, or teams going to St. James Park really fancy scoring a lot of goals. They've had 0 wins, like I mentioned before. Leeds United, not a season for them. how they were last season, FTR of 4, they find themselves sitting in number 17 on the Premier League points table. Yes, Bamford is not available. They were actually pretty impressive against Tottenham, considering Rafinha was also not playing, and Bamford obviously has not been playing. They did give a good fight to Tottenham Hotspur in London. However, it's been that kind of a season for them. How Sheffield United started last season, where they were just losing by a goal or two, and not getting beaten by a huge margin. So that's the same case with Leeds. It's just that they haven't been able to get those points in and get those draws and wins together. They have had 12 goals scored. Only they scored 12 goals so far, and they have conceded 20 goals. So not looking good for them going forward. Brighton, they were at number 2 for in terms of FDR. They have the 5th best XGC. However, considering the FDR they had, and considering the goals that they've scored, considering the XG that they've had, the XG is 13.38, which is in the bottom 5, and their XGC is 13.37, like I said, which is in the top 5. So matching all these things together with their FDR, they find themselves in the bottom 5 teams. Finish it off with Everton. They started against most of the teams extremely well. DCL was there. He scored in each of the first 3 games before he got injured. Similar to Bamford, he has not yet come back, and there's no clarity and there's no confirmation when are they going to come back. So they were on 3 on FDR, and this, like I covered in the last in the 9 to 12 game weeks, they have had just nothing going for them, and they have just scored 6 goals in the last 7 game weeks. Everton, the XGC is at 16, which is still not too bad, but their XG is something which has dropped considerably what they were in the beginning of the season. They have scored 16 goals, but they have conceded 19 as well. So they find themselves in the bottom 5 of the table. We now take a look at teams which have, in terms of their attacking abilities, we have made a top 5 for teams which have, compared to their delta, which is measured by goals minus expected goals. And so we looked at for the whole season how teams are fared. This is for the top 5. Chelsea with 30 goals scored. They are sitting right at the top with 8.10 delta, which shows that they have been performing extremely well. They have been overperforming as compared to their XG suggests. So the XG suggests, as you can see, the XG suggests close to around 22, and they have scored 30 goals out of that. That means top quality finishes from their goal scorers. Liverpool with the highest goal scored till now at 35. They find themselves sitting at 2. The second spot with a delta of 5.17. Their XG has been 29.8 something, and they've scored 35 goals from those situations. So that again shows similar to Chelsea. It shows the finishing capabilities, how top they have been till now, among Salah, Mane, and Jota. Similar is the case with Chelsea. The way Reece James of the world, Chilwell of the world have been scoring goals. It just shows they have been really overperforming. They have overperformed in the first 12 game weeks. Third is West Ham United. They have scored 23 goals, and they have also overperformed their XG numbers by 3.45. So they have also done well. Antonio, having said that, as an FPL asset, he hasn't really returned in the last 8 to 9 game weeks, but that hasn't really stopped West Ham from scoring goals. It's either between Jared Bowen or Fornals, or a couple of their defenders have been scoring. They have Orban Rama, who Benrahma and Antonio both have been quiet in the last 7-8 game weeks, but for the season thus far, West Ham has been overperforming on their finishing and on their goal scoring abilities as well. Surprising name, Aston Villa here. I was super impressed with how they made their debut under Steven Gerrard. They were super attacking, relentless to the last minute. The game was, I think, 0-0 till 83rd minute, when surprisingly Potter made a substitution and took out Lamptey, which kind of gave them a lot of space to Aston Villa wingers. And I think Gerrard saw that opportunity, and from the 84th to the 92nd, 93rd minute, whenever the match got over, the energy from the players, from the sideline, from the coach, and the stadium and the fans, it was just amazing. They find themselves at fourth here. They have just scored 16 goals, which is an average of 1.3 per game, and they find themselves. Though to be honest, the 2 goals scored going back to the game against Brighton, it was just superb finishes from Watkins and Mings. So they're overperforming their XG numbers as well by 3.31. Finishing it off with another surprising name, which is Watford. They've also scored 16 goals. Now it's been their wins in this season have been quite not at all forgettable, because they have beaten Everton 5-2 at Everton, and now in the game week 12 they defeated Manchester United 4-1. So they have scored 16 goals, and the finishing that we have seen from King or Sarr or Dennis, it's been amazing so far. We'll go to bottom 5 teams, wherein we see the teams who have not been performing as per their XG numbers. Southampton is right up there with 11 goals scored. Southampton, like I said, their XG in the beginning of the show, I had mentioned that their performance in terms of scoring goals at home is way below as compared to their away performances. They have scored 11 goals, less than a goal on average for the season. They have really outperformed. They have really underperformed the XG numbers by -5 almost. Followed by Wolves. Wolves only scoring 12 goals, but they find themselves still sitting at number 6 in the points tally. That is primarily to do with their impressive XGC numbers as well. However, as far as XG is concerned, they have underperformed the numbers, and this is more to do with how Adama Traore started the season with missing sitters after sitters in the first 3 to 4 game weeks. Norwich is right at number 3. The least number of goals scored in this season so far at number 7. They did score 2 goals in the last game against Southampton under new manager Dean Smith. However, they have been underperforming their numbers as well. I have witnessed them. I watched the games twice live, 2 of the games live, and I've seen bookies of the world as far also in Norman missing quite a few sitters. Tottenham sit on 4th at number 11. They also scored only 11 goals. So they are the second. They have scored the second lowest goals, and they tied with Southampton after Norwich. They haven't really looked what they were last season under Jose Mourinho, and obviously now Conte coming in. We might definitely see a lot of changes in their XG numbers as well. But having said that, till now, 12 game weeks, their XG numbers have underperformed their XG numbers by almost -2. We finish it off with Brentford, 16 goals scored. They have had a mixed start. It's been a mix and match, quite a mixed season for them so far. They had a superlative game week from 5 to 8, then and totally underwhelming game week 9 to 12. They have scored goals 16, but there have been sitters that they've missed, and everybody knows about Mbeumo hitting the post 7 times, and that is primarily the reason why they find themselves in this table of bottom 5. Now we will look at the GC and the XGC numbers and how teams have outperformed the goals, expected goals conceded numbers. Right up there, Chelsea, no surprise at all. Only 4 goals conceded so far, and they have overperformed the XGC numbers by -8. So this has been a superlative performance by Mendy, by the defenders. Rudiger, Aspilicueta, Christensen, Chalobah. They have been extremely impressive when it comes to defending as well. Only 4 goals conceded, overperforming by -8. It's unbelievable. Second is Arsenal. They conceded 17 goals. They had a very tough start to the season. However, the last 5-6 game weeks have been easier for them in terms of FDR, and they have really taken advantage of that and have clocked clean sheets and have clocked wins and got points, and they're sitting at number 5 in the points tally. But they've also overperformed in terms of the defensive stats are concerned. Manchester City, 6 goals conceded only. They find themselves again, as we have seen, in the stats when we divided the game week 12 into 3 different buckets. We saw Manchester City was always up there. They have conceded second least amount of goals after Chelsea, and they find themselves sitting here at number 3. Liverpool at 4. They have also conceded goals. They're in double figures at 11. Not as impressive as Chelsea and Manchester City, but they conceded, I think, 3 against Brentford, if I remember, 2 against City, and I think 2 against Brighton as well. So 7 goals within this among these 3 games has been the ones they have leaked the most. But they find themselves, the defense is still top notch. The likes of Matip, Van Dijk, he's getting back into his groove after the injury that he had last season, and they find themselves overperforming their XGC numbers. We finish it off with Wolves in the top 5. Only 12 goals conceded. They have looked really sharp, like I said a few minutes back. The XG might not be as impressive, but because of the XGC, they find themselves in the top 5 of this chart. We get on with the bottom 5 teams now. Crystal Palace, surprisingly, is there. They have the XGC numbers, which are 3rd best in the season. However, they have underperformed the numbers. They've conceded 17 goals with an XGC of 12.5 or thereabouts. So which shows that their defenders can do much better. Norwich, 27 goals they've conceded. That's the max. That's the highest anybody's conceded this season, along with Newcastle. They've also their defense has been all over the place. They've hardly had any clean sheets. As is the case with Newcastle, 27 goals conceded, and they have underperformed their XGC numbers by 4.5. Aston Villa, they were in the table of XG, how well their finishing has been, but they find themselves in the wrong side of underperforming their XGC numbers. They conceded 20 goals so far, and though they got a clean sheet in the first game under Steven Gerrard, and I'm sure we would be seeing more clean sheets coming in for Aston Villa, and these numbers improving as we enter the new year. We will round it off with Leicester. Leicester, 21 goals conceded. It's an amazing thing for FPL managers to see Leicester concede so many goals, because they've always been rock solid. In the last couple of seasons, obviously they've had big injuries to Fofana, to James, but they are back, I think, in action in terms of training, and I wouldn't be surprised when these numbers start improving and the clean sheets also start coming in. I think they've only had 1 clean sheet so far this season. So here you have it. This is all the team stats we could muster up for you guys. If you do like what we do, and if you do like the way we present it, and if you do think we can get better, please subscribe and do follow us. Please give feedback in the comment section, and we will be more than happy to really put that in action. You can follow us on Fpl Trybe on Twitter. That's Fpl Trybe, and our YouTube channel name is Fpl Trybe as well.